Imagine a black screen. The roar of a hurricane wind builds, followed by the deafening crack of wood. A dim lantern light snatches a young sailor's face from the darkness. He clings to his hammock in the stuffy hold, his eyes wide with animal terror. The ship is tossed so violently that the boy is nearly thrown to the ceiling, but the camera slowly glides to the adjacent hammock where an old, bearded pirate is asleep. He sleeps deeply and peacefully, rocking rhythmically like a baby in a cradle. In the next 10 minutes, we will uncover this paradox. We will learn the secret that separated the living from the dead. Incidentally, the hammock itself is not a European invention. It was a technology of the indigenous peoples of the Caribbean, which Columbus's sailors stole after realizing its genius. It saved them from rats, dampness, and violent pitching. The pirates slept in a cradle taken from the New World. To sleep when your ship could be smashed to smithereens at any moment seems impossible, but the ability to remain calm and restore strength in the epicenter of chaos was a pirate's greatest weapon, more important than any cutlass. Today, we will understand how this weapon worked by breaking it down into 3 parts: physics, psychology, and one clever trick for the brain. Naval historians confirm that more ships were lost to errors made by an exhausted crew than in battle. Sleep was not rest. It was a strategic resource, a weapon that reloaded itself while you were unconscious. First, we will uncover the brilliant engineering secret of the hammock. Then, we will understand why the ship itself was alive and did not break. Finally, we will delve into the mind of the old sailor to understand how he switched off his panic. Stay with us to learn how simple physics saved men from mortal terror. And in speaking of a living ship, we will see how a construction principle, borrowed from Viking longships, saved the lives of pirates in the Caribbean hundreds of years later. Secret number 1, physical isolation from chaos. A bunk nailed to the hull throws you around along with the ship. A hammock, however, suspended at 2 points, creates an independent system. It moves with the ship's roll, not against it, dampening the sharpest and most dangerous jolts. The body in the hammock remains at the system's center of mass, experiencing only a gentle rocking instead of violent impacts. The physics is simple. The hammock allows the body to stay closer to the vessel's center of rotation, where the amplitude of the rocking is minimal. It's like sitting in the middle of a seesaw. The movements are smooth, while at the ends you are tossed up and down. Imagine a camera stabilization system, a Steadicam. No matter how much you shake the base, the central element strives to maintain its position. The hammock is an organic, cheap, and brilliant Steadicam for the human body. It allowed the body to rest while the ship around it waged its battle with the elements. This principle is called gimbal suspension, and it was described by the ancient Greek inventor Philo of Byzantium in the 3rd century BC for a non-spill inkwell. Pirates used ancient technology to sleep through hurricanes. The hammock is ingenious, but it's useless if the ship it's tied to falls apart. Wooden pirate ships withstood the impact of waves capable of tearing steel. The answer lies in the fact that they were designed not as fortresses, but as living creatures. This is not just a beautiful metaphor. During World War II, some welded steel Liberty-class ships literally broke in half in the cold waters of the Atlantic because they were too rigid. An old wooden ship intuitively understood a principle that 20th century engineers had to rediscover. In a storm, flexibility is strength. The deafening creak that paralyzed the young sailor was a lullaby to the old pirate. He didn't hear a death rattle. He heard the ship breathing, its joints working. A rigid structure accumulates stress at one point and breaks. A flexible one distributes the impact throughout its entire body. Pirate ships were built to be flexible. Instead of iron nails, they often used wooden pegs that would swell in the water, creating a watertight yet mobile connection. This creaking was the language the ship used to say, "I am alive, I am coping." The low groan of the ribs, the high creak of the mast. To an experienced ear, this was a detailed technical report. Imagine a mighty oak. It meets a hurricane head-on and breaks with a crack. Next to it stands a slender willow. It bows to the ground in the wind and survives. The pirate ship was the willow, not the oak. It didn't fight the storm. It danced with it. It allowed the wave's energy to pass through it, dissipating it. This was the principle of Aikido applied to shipbuilding, not meeting force with force, but yielding and redirecting. The ship was a master of maritime judo. An experienced sailor knew this dance. He trusted his ship like a living partner. And trust is the key to calmness. You can't fall asleep in a car if you don't trust the driver. The pirate trusted his driver. It's no coincidence that for centuries, ships were given female names and referred to as she. This isn't just a tradition. It's a mechanism of psychological personification. You can't trust a pile of planks and ropes, but you can trust her, your faithful companion. All right. The ship bends but doesn't break. The hammock rocks but doesn't strike. Physics stabilizes the body. But what about the primal terror that paralyzes the brain? Physics is powerless against panic. It cannot calm the amygdala, the ancient siren in our heads responsible for the fight-or-flight response. This is where the final, most important element came into play. The pirate's secret was not in feeling no fear. It was in having a mental protocol that prevented that fear from seizing the helm. This protocol begins with a simple choice. The young sailor mentally fights the storm. He imagines the planks cracking, the ship going under. He is tense, wasting precious energy on fear. The old pirate does not fight. He accepts the storm as a fact, like rain outside a window or the changing of day and night. Fighting reality is a guaranteed loss and a source of exhaustion. Acceptance is the first step toward self-control. This is pure Stoic philosophy, practiced by the Roman Emperor Marcus Aurelius. Separate things into what you can control and what you cannot. Today, psychologists call this acceptance and commitment therapy. The pirate in his hammock intuitively used a technique that treats anxiety disorders in the 21st century. He couldn't control the wind. He couldn't control the waves. But he could control exactly three things: the knot on his hammock, the rhythm of his breathing, and his thoughts. By shifting focus from the vast, uncontrollable chaos to a small, specific, controllable task, the brain switches from panic mode to work mode. This is the foundation of psychological resilience. This technique of narrowing focus is used by Navy SEALs during Hell Week. When the world around them is collapsing, they are taught to concentrate on a single action. Take one more step, tie one knot, take one breath. It's like a neurosurgical incision, severing panic from consciousness. Think about your most stressful moment in the last year. Were you trying to control external circumstances beyond your influence or your reaction to them? Pirates intuitively understood that the only available lever of control is internal. Psychologists call this shifting from an external to an internal locus of control. The pirate knew he had zero control over the storm's vector, but 100% control over his mind's vector. The constant risk of death cultivated a healthy fatalism in them. If my time has come, I will drown. If not, I won't. This isn't depression. It's a powerful tool against anxiety. It frees up mental resources from endlessly replaying what-if scenarios. The brain stops being afraid and receives a command: act or rest. The Stoics called this premeditation malorum, the premeditation of evils. By accepting the worst outcome in advance, you strip it of its emotional power over you. The fear of death is strong as long as you fight it. When you accept it, it becomes just another possible future, freeing your mind for the tasks at hand. Let's say the pirate has accepted the inevitable and focused on his breathing. But how can one sleep amidst the deafening roar of waves, the crash of thunder, and the howl of the wind in the rigging? The sound should be maddening. We're talking about noise levels of 100 or even 110 decibels. That's like standing next to a running chainsaw or at a rock concert. By all accounts, such noise should cause stress and insomnia. But here, too, the sailor's brain used a clever trick, turning poison into medicine. It learned to use a neurobiological process called sensory filtering to hack the system. The young sailor's brain perceives each sound of the storm separately. The crack of the mast, the crash of a wave, the howl of the wind. Each is a separate jolt of adrenaline. The old pirate's brain hears differently. It doesn't hear 1,000 threats, but a single, continuous, steady roar. This roar is perfect natural pink noise. Its main job is not to deafen, but to mask. It creates a sound blanket that hides all the sharp, sudden noises that could wake someone up. A comrade's shout, a falling crate, the snap of a rope, all are drowned out by the storm's monotonous symphony. The pirate slept in a perfect acoustic capsule that we now try to replicate with apps on our phones. To a novice's brain, any loud noise is a danger signal. But the brain of a veteran who has listened to this music for months has rewritten the rules. This process is called habituation. It's the same reason someone living near a railroad can sleep through the thunder of trains but wakes up to the quiet creak of a floorboard. Their brain has recalibrated its alarm system. For the pirate, danger is no longer a loud sound. Danger is the wrong sound, or sudden silence. The pirate's brain inverted the threat. It hacked its own basic programming. Loud means everything is going according to plan. The storm is doing its job and the ship is doing hers. But quiet. Quiet means something has broken. An experienced race car driver fears not the roar of the engine, but its sudden silence. A surgeon in an operating room is alarmed not by the beeping of monitors, but by their silence. The pirate achieved the same level of sensory mastery in his craft. So what do we have? A perfect physical cradle, a living, flexible ship, stoic psychology, and a sound blanket that turns chaos into tranquility. We have the hardware, the hammock and the ship. We have the software, the mental tricks. But what operating system made it all work together as a single unit? The answer lies not in comfort or brilliant engineering. It lies in duty. The old pirate slept not because he was brave, but because it was his job. A watch during a storm is hell on earth. 4 hours on deck, fighting for every breath and every step, followed by 4 hours of rest. This rest was not a choice. It was an order. If you don't recover, you will make a mistake on your next watch, and your mistake will kill everyone. NASA research on pilots has shown that just 26 minutes of sleep improves performance by 34% and alertness by 54%. Pirates didn't know these numbers, but they knew the result. Sleep was the most powerful performance. Enhancer on board. To treat it lightly was sabotage. Panic is incredibly expensive. It burns calories and mental energy at a ferocious rate. Lying in a hammock with a pounding heart, replaying scenarios of doom, is like running a marathon in place. The old pirate intuitively understood that the only way to beat the storm was to outlast it. And to do that, he had to conserve every ounce of strength. Panic floods the blood with cortisol, a stress hormone that devours the body's glucose reserves. A few hours of panicked wakefulness could burn through a day's rations. Sleep was not rest. It was an extreme energy-saving mode. But there's one more thing. You can only fall asleep in the epicenter of hell under one condition. You have 100% trust in those who are currently on deck. You know they won't falter, fall asleep, or fail. The young sailor doesn't trust them yet. He is alone against the storm. The old pirate is part of a single organism. Today, researchers call this psychological safety. For pirates, this safety was sealed in blood and the articles of their agreement, their code. He slept soundly because he knew the man on deck was bound by the same code. That man's life depended on how well he himself rested. So a pirate's sleep is not magic. It is a finely tuned survival protocol where physics, psychology, and iron discipline work in concert. The old sea dog slept not because he was fearless, but because he was a consummate professional. His sleep was not an act of bravery, but the result of a well-oiled survival algorithm. He wasn't a hero from a legend. He was a specialist who had perfected his job, staying alive. This fine-tuned survival algorithm can be transferred from the 17th century to the 21st. Here are 3 rules from the old pirate for your personal storm, whether it's a burning deadline, a conflict, or a life crisis. First, find your hammock. In any chaotic situation, identify one point of stability that depends only on you. Your breath, the rhythm of your steps during a walk, a simple mechanical action like washing the dishes. This is a classic grounding technique. By clinging to this island of control, you isolate yourself from the sharpest blows of panic. You pull your brain out of the imagined chaos of the future and return it to the present. Second, accept your storm. Stop wasting energy fighting what you cannot change. Accept the reality of the problem. Shift your focus from "why did this happen" to "what can I do right now?" This frees up a colossal amount of mental energy. The pirate knew that being angry at a hurricane was like trying to stab it with a cutlass, useless and foolish. Third, know when to sleep. Understand that rest in the middle of a crisis is not weakness, but a strategic necessity. Working yourself to the point of burnout is a direct path to disaster. Elite athletes call this strategic recovery. They know that muscles grow not during the workout, but during rest. Your brain is a muscle too. Give it time to repair, and it will come back stronger. The secret to the old pirate's sleep is a perfect storm of engineering ingenuity, experience-forged psychology, and iron discipline. He slept because he knew that to conquer chaos, you don't fight it. You become its calmest and most effective part. He didn't conquer the storm. He harmonized with it. We've broken down many factors, but what do you think was the most crucial element in a pirate's ability to sleep through a hurricane? The brilliant physics of his ship and hammock, or an unyielding survival psychology? Write just one word in the comments: physics or psychology. Let's see which one gets more votes. What was the first link in the chain? Did the brilliant hardware allow the psychology to develop, or did the iron psychology allow them to trust the hardware?